Okay, everyone, about to kick off another weekly live Q&A event. 1 second, just making sure that I can get this volume adjusted first, otherwise it will explode like usual. Sorry for starting a bit late today. I've had a busy morning. I was actually involved in another Q&A this morning too, so on a different channel. Waiting for it to start. There we go. There we go. Boom. Cut that volume out. Okay. So we already got some people rolling in. Let's get this Q&A started, guys. Charlie the Greaser asks, while on keto, do you mean high fat and low carb? How many grams of fat do you need while on keto? Based on the research, I keep keto 55% or higher of my caloric intake. It has to be high. I mean, that's what it is high fat. And for carbs, I keep it below 30 grams per day. I don't count fiber. I actually subtract fiber from the total carbs. If you look at the packaging of food, it'll say like carbohydrates or total carbohydrates. It'll be like, 5 grams or something. Then it will say like fiber, 3 grams, sugars, 1 gram or whatever. I subtract, like for instance, in that case, I would subtract 3 grams from the 5, leaving 2. And I would only count 2. I don't count the fiber toward the carb total. I do count it towards the calories because fiber does inevitably contain calories, but I do not count fiber toward my my carb total. Let's move on to the next question. If I want to lose weight, should I bulk first or should I cut? I recommend that it depends on where you're at. If you're somebody who is very overweight to begin with, I would recommend going on a cut, If you're very overweight, more than likely you're going to recomp even in a relatively deep deficit. I don't recommend deep deficits. Even in a deep deficit, you'll likely recomp due to your overall body size. That does tend to happen with people who are very overweight when they begin training. Now, if you're someone who's around 15 to 18% body fat, I would go in a modest cut or maintenance. I would use like a recomping diet. That way you'll gain a little more muscle while losing the fat. It's going to be a bit slower, but you're trying to achieve 2 ends at the same time. So it will be slower, but I feel like it may take longer, but it's more eventful. You're getting more out of it because you're getting some muscle there too. Hi Corey, hi everyone. I love you, Corey. Right back at you. Hey everyone. Yeah, we just started Hammer and Hank. Don't worry. Corey, does gelking work? I don't even know what gelking is. I gotta Google this because everyone keeps writing this to me. I'm not sure. I think I know what gelking is. Does it go by a different word, perhaps? It's a familiar word, maybe because I've heard people saying it so often lately. What are my thoughts in bivalves? Are they vegan or not? Are we talking about things like oysters and whatnot? While we can't confirm that they have sentience and we can't confirm that we know they don't have a nervous system like mammals do, for instance, but there is a rudimentary nervous system of sorts. They have a ganglia. They have a nerve ganglia, which means they can feel pain. So you don't need oysters, or mussels or any of that. So I don't see the point in hurting them, in consuming them. There are plenty of alternatives to get protein and fat than consuming any kind of sea life. Moving forward, do I own any firearms? At the moment, I don't, but I have other kinds of weapons. I have a plethora of other kinds of weapons. But keep in mind, I live in New York City. So while you can have firearms here in your house, getting a carry license, I think it's concealed carry in the city, but getting a carry license is incredibly difficult in the city. You have to have very extenuating circumstances. And I've heard horror stories that when you apply for one, because your life is in danger, because there's like people after you for whatever reason, that sometimes they don't get approved until it's too late. So, but yeah, if I were to live in a place like Texas, like where I grew up, I definitely would own a firearm right now. But I do have other things. I have other kinds of things. I'm not going to go into what I have though, because I'd rather not go into that. What happens if you are deficient in B12 for a long time? What are the effects? Well, first of all, B12 is involved in building blood in your body. You're going to notice problems with your blood. You're going to notice problems with, you're going to feel lethargic. If it's been a long period of time, you might be close to death. Be careful. B12 deficiency is not a joke. Now, you don't need a lot of B12 per day. It's actually in micrograms. I think the amount that they actually is considered the basic needs per day is in micrograms. Overdose on it. I take a shitload of B12 a day. But that's why you can, it's water soluble. You'll urinate out the excess, really, to be honest. So I actually advise people to supplement, over supplement even. That means if they're getting it from their multivitamin and they're getting it from like a sublingual dropper or something, it's better to be safe than sorry. It's better to have more in your body than be sorry, even if you're going to pee a lot of it out. Manus, we've already begun. Somebody's asking, when's this going to be starting? We just begun. Can you not see or hear what's going on? Can you talk about what's included in your program, please? I assume you mean the Vegan Muscle Academy. Well, the Vegan Muscle Academy is like a bodybuilding.com is what I'm growing it into, of like nutrition and training programs and files and videos and courses and downloads and everything. Like it's basically like me. You're able to pick my brain, essentially. I am your trainer. There's a forum, a members forum that I interact in. I also there's coaching calls. There's also live video coaching calls one-on-one. That's an option. It's in there as well. I have programs ranging from beginners up to intermediate. I'm actually working on a really long-term program that I plan to turn into a book as well. And I'm working on some other odds and ends too. There's programs for women in there. Really anything you can imagine, and I take member requests as well. So if a member wants to see a specific kind of program or wants to get specific kinds of tips, I create new content and that as well. And it's just every week we swell with new content at the Vegan Muscle Academy. So that's really what it is. It's basically it's like having me as a virtual coach, essentially. Let's see. Why is honey not vegan? No animals are being slaughtered. Well, bees are considered sentient creatures. They're very intelligent. They show signs of very complex communities. You know, and they're stressed. They are stressed out by beekeepers and basically the honey industry. Bees die in procuring honey. So really, there's a lot of reasons that why, and then it comes down to also, why should we exploit them for their honey when there are alternatives to the honey? There are actually vegan alternatives to honey now. Like for instance, there's apple-based honey. It's actually HONEE, I think is how it's spelled. So when it comes down to it, you're essentially exploiting creatures that are very complex, that can feel stress, that can feel pain for all intents and purposes that we are aware of. But we know they feel stress. We see signs of their stress. And you're exploiting them for something that there are alternatives that you could use. That's why vegans avoid honey. What are my opinions on the anti-thought police? I think you mean like the PC police, like people who basically tell you what to think and what you shouldn't think. I think it's a joke, and I think the political correctness has gone too far, and I think it's degenerating society. That's my opinion on that, you know. But I don't want to turn this into a political discussion here. What workout is best to hide an issue like pectus excavatum? To be perfectly honest with you, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what that condition is, and I don't really speak Latin. So maybe elaborate on what that means, and I can tell you what I would think. But then again, remember, I'm not a doctor, so don't ever use my advice in replacement of actual professional medical advice by an actual doctor. I don't want you guys getting hurt. You know, I don't have that kind of expertise. Cory, can you give any tips on improving grip strength? Of course, yes. First and foremost, heavy deadlifts or bent over rows or anything where you're gripping an Olympic bar or even a fat bar. Using fat grips, for instance, is really good. Where you're having to do that with a lot of weight under tension because you're constantly doing reps, like, you know, like 6 to 8 reps or something. So you're holding that weight in your hands. You're forced to grip it. That's one way. Another way would be pull-ups, chin-ups, especially neutral grip and overhand will work your grip pretty hard. Hammer curls are really good. Reverse curls are really good. The reverse curls will work the brachioradialis in the upper forearms. The hammer curls will work your brachialis and your brachioradialis, which as I said, the brachioradialis is in the upper forearms. The brachialis is like a knot of muscle in between your biceps and triceps. So that'll work that as well, and that will also affect your grip. That'll work on your grip. So really work on, like, you know, wrist curls, hammer curls, reverse curls, heavy deadlifts, pull-ups, neutral grip chin-ups, bent over rows, pendlay rows, but more so bent over rows because there's constant tension in your grip. Those are all great movements for developing your grip. Let's see here. I'm considering creatine. What do you think about the studies showing the high levels of organic contaminants exceeding the EFSA safety levels? I'm not familiar with that. It depends on who we're sourcing from. The purest form of creatine comes out of Germany. It's called Creapure, and it's not necessarily a brand. It's a supplier. So basically, what happens is it's a producer, rather. It's the name of a company that produces creatine. So, for instance, you can buy products from True Nutrition, to give you an example, or Animal, the brand Animal. They actually get their creatine from Creapure. It's from it's actually certified Creapure. So it's from Germany. That's pure creatine. It's the purest creatine I believe that money can buy, monohydrate at least. So it really depends on who's manufacturing the creatine, whether it's going to have contaminants or not. You know, you should always be wary and see if there's good manufacturing practices in place, like GMP labeling, what their purity of the products are. Whether their facilities are clean, what else they do in their facilities. For instance, to give you an example of what I mean by that, there's a company called Protein Factory here in the United States. Now, I'm not trying to take a dig at them, but apparently the guy who runs Protein Factory runs it out of the back of a pet store. So, you know, it's not a factory dedicated to just protein. He runs this out of the back of a pet store, you know, so I'm not saying I'm taking a dig, but it gives you an example of somebody multi-tasking a facility that they're producing products or storing products in, bulk products in, that you're purchasing. Cory, what do you think about 7-keto DHEA and how much beetroot powder pre-workout? 7-keto DHEA apparently shows promise in fat loss. It is a metabolite of DHEA, which is a hormone in the body that is still legal to purchase over the counter, mostly because there's a lot of older folks that spend a lot of money on that particular product. I've not seen a lot of research showing any other benefit besides fat loss, and even the fat loss benefits, I don't know how significant they are. The research is still, like, it's not perfectly conclusive. There's a small body of research on it. It needs more. Now, as for beetroot powder, I take a tablespoon of pure beetroot powder before I work out. And that's what the product recommends anyway. It's like, it comes to like 7,000 milligrams, so 7 grams of beetroot powder in 1 tablespoon, I believe is what my product offers. And that works for me. I get the benefits from that. Cory, did you finally search up Clarence O? No, I need to. Everyone keeps bringing it up. I need to look this guy up. If I'm not mistaken, is he a YouTube guy or something? I'm just asking because Clarence Zero sounds like a handle, obviously. When is the video on dating and body image going to be released? That is up and coming. I have so many video topics that I've got to do. That is certainly one to come. I actually just got a pack of Beyond Meat, the Beyond Meat Beyond Burgers. They finally came into Whole Foods. I'm so excited. I picked a pack up today. They just came in last week, it looks like. And I'm going to be doing a review on that. So actually, I got so many ideas. I got more anti-aging stuff coming up too. I'm trying to film a training video. Unfortunately, with my gym, if it's too crowded, they don't like people filming there. And with my camera phone, they knock it over. Anything that shakes in the gym, it knocks over my damn camera phone. I got to retake. So these are all things that are in the works, the things that come. But the dating video is definitely coming. Are you still keto and under 100 carbs a day? You can be keto and up to 50 grams of carbs per day. You can still fall into ketogenic state. But I find that my results and others that I've noticed as well, and also what I've seen research, below 30 grams seems to be the sweet spot for most people. Some people do even great when they're below 10 grams a day, but it's very hard as a vegan to get below 10 grams a day unless you're relying heavily on like protein powders and things like that, or you can find tofu that really has no carbs in it and it's just like pure fiber. For instance, like the Wildwood brand of tofu is like that. But otherwise, yeah, it's very hard to get below that. So below 30, you're fine. Cory, do you prefer to work out at home or in the gym? In the gym. I just feel there's better energy there. Now, I have the equipment to work out at home, very basic dumbbell and band type workout, but I have a pull-up bar as well. But I prefer to work out in the gym, even if it's something I could do at home, because there's the energy. When you go to a gym, even if you're not socializing with the other folks in the gym, there's the energy of seeing other people getting it done, you know, in there, and they're working, they're trying to improve themselves. And there's just something to be said about that energy that just sort of, you can feel it yourself, and it makes you work harder, you know. There's that, and there's also a competitive edge for guys as well. You know, I know you shouldn't, but sometimes you just can't help it, seeing somebody else and being like, well, I can outlift that. But you got to be smart about that, because you also hurt yourself too. Some of these questions are ridiculous. Let's see here. Cory, I'm doing a Dr. Sebby alkaline diet. I find it hard to feel full. Any advice on healing the body and losing weight? I'm 5'4", 139, and was 198. I don't like Dr. Sebby's. I don't agree with Dr. Sebby. First of all, he's not a real doctor. He didn't even complete high school, as far as I'm aware. He made a lot of accusations, like a lot of claims, like curing AIDS and cancer with herbs. And he charges these desperate people a lot of money for these herbs, and there's no science to support what he's doing. I don't particularly like, I don't care for Dr. Sebby. I don't have a problem with him as a person, but I do think that's unscrupulous. I think that's a shitty thing that he's doing, taking advantage of people who are in desperate situations like that. Because in my mind, that's what that is. There's no science to support what he's saying. Now, your body can naturally alkalize itself. You don't need to do an alkaline diet. If you breathe, your body can alkalize itself. You know, that's my thoughts on that. And if you're eating a vegan diet, you're getting a lot of alkaline foods to begin with, a lot of you know, vegetables and some fruits. As for healing the body, really what it comes down to, your body is a magnificent machine to begin with. All of our bodies are. Your liver filters things, so does your kidneys. Let your organs, unless they're compromised, do their job. Now, if your organs are compromised, you want to see a doctor and have that taken care of. You might need surgery or medications or what have you. But otherwise, just get good sleep, drink plenty of water, so stay hydrated, that is. You know, work out, lift weights. Lifting weights, no matter, even if you're not into bodybuilding, lifting weights is good for longevity. It's good for fighting cancer. People who lift weights have a 60% reduction in cancer rates. So in actually getting cancer, it's a less of a chance. So lifting weights is great for the body. Exercise in general is great for the body. So exercise, get plenty of sleep, drink plenty of water, eat a good diet. Veganism. This is all going to go a long way into healing your body. And work on your stress. If you're somebody who's very high stress, maybe see a therapist, maybe seek out meditation. Work on your stress levels. Do something to relax yourself and help you deal with the stress, because cortisol does not do a body good. Anyhow, let's see here. Somebody asked if I'm a reptilian. I swear I won't tell anyone. That's an absurd question. No, I'm not a reptilian. Why do some vegans say you can't eat you can eat unlimited calories and lose weight? It's because they're mistaken. You know, when it comes down to it, let's put it this way, let's put it in perspective. There are some folks that are very active, like Darian Ryder and Freely. They're very, very active. I mean, they're cycling everywhere, or they're, you know, and they're also perhaps working out as well in the gym. They're going to have the capacity to consume more before they put on weight. Keep in mind, too, that if you're eating a lot of fruit and vegetables, there's a lot of fiber, and that can fill you up. You may think that, oh, I'm just eating unlimited, and if for all intents and purposes you are, because you're eating until you're full. But remember, all that fiber is going to fill you up, and some people get filled up faster with fiber than others. And that they may be eating into their full and not watching their calories, but they're still eating either enough to maintain or to lose weight. Keep in mind that calories still matter. There are people, like myself included, that can get fat eating fruit. Yeah, I can get fat eating fruit. I've actually had some weeks where I stalled because I had a bit too many berries at dinner time, and it shot my calories up. So yeah, people can, if you're sensitive to your caloric intake, it can affect you like that. So calories do matter. They do matter. Now, not all calories are created equal. Protein is highly thermogenic, and they've done research on this. Carbs would be next up. It's difficult to, de novo lipogenesis is not an easy process for the body to go into. It costs a lot. And fat is probably the easiest to put on weight with. Not because the fat you eat is the fat you wear, but rather because fat's high in calories. And if you eat a lot of it, it can make you, you're getting more calories, and it can make you go into a surplus and you can gain weight. Or you can stall, one or the other. Why is keto better for weight loss? Is it more filling? I never said keto is better for weight loss generally. Keto, in my opinion, works better for me for weight loss because I find that I'm more satiated with the higher fat and protein intake and lower carbs. And I also eat a lot of fiber-rich vegetables on a keto diet. So I personally find that I feel more satiated. It makes the dieting aspect more bearable. It's the same reason I like intermittent fasting. Because I'm condensing all of my caloric consumption into 8-hour window, it feels like more food. It's a psychological trick. So for those reasons, that, in my opinion, makes them superior for me, not necessarily for everyone. Not everyone can fast, and not everyone does well on keto. You got to find what works for you. And that's also why in my Vegan Muscle Academy, while I have a ketogenic course, I also have a standard course. I have a course for mass gain. I have a course for recomping. I have a keto course. I have courses for everything. I have programs for everything because one size does not fit all. Let's move along here. Would I take steroids if they were legal? No. No, my reason for not taking steroids is not the legality issue. That's not the big problem here. My reason for not taking steroids is because I don't want to risk shutting my body down, for one, and not being able to jumpstart it again at my age. That you know, why ruin myself like that? You know, why risk putting myself on TRT for life is the way I look at it. And oral steroids can do much more damage. They can hurt your liver because they're liver toxic. Steroids can cause problems with your heart. You know, there's a lot of reasons why I wouldn't want to take steroids for health reasons. And besides, I don't have any purpose to. There's nothing that steroids are going to do for me, really, besides adding more muscle, you know, that's going to enhance my life anymore, to be perfectly honest. Like, I am happy with what I have and with where I'm going, and I don't see the point in needing steroids. You know, I'm not a professional bodybuilder or anything like that either, so I don't need that kind of thing. It's like risk without the reward, essentially. And then that risk is real. It will shut your body down. And sometimes you can skim along and you can restart your body with post-cycle therapy, but there are some guys that are on TRT for life now because of their steroid use. An example of which would be Sean Ray. I believe his name is Sean Ray, the classic bodybuilder from the 90s. If I'm not mistaken, he's on TRT for life at this point because he shut his body down all those years doing gear competing. It's a reality, guys. It's a reality. Do I do any high intensity workouts? Yes, I do. I use the heavy bag at my gym, and I'll do punch kick combinations in intervals. So like I might do 30 seconds nonstop, smashing out the bag with my fists and my feet. And then I'll rest for like 10 seconds or something like that, or 30 seconds, up to 30 seconds. And then I'll do another 30-second interval. And I'll do that for like 15 or 20 minutes. And I'm basically sucking air at that point. You know, I'm sometimes sweating on the ground. I've done it on elliptical trainers as well. Tabata is a great form of HIIT that I've used before. And that will fuck you up too. It's pretty intense. Hence being called intensity training. So yeah, I've used HIIT. Let's see here. When will I start taking HGH? Same thing. I'm not. The only time I would take HGH or steroids or anything like that is simply if I medically needed it. Like if my own testosterone levels dropped so significantly low that my quality of life was being destroyed and my health was being destroyed. Keep in mind that low testosterone is a serious medical condition. It can have a number of negative effects on your life and your health, your longevity as well. It can cause depression, it can cause suicidal thoughts. This is why a lot of guys who are on steroids admit to when they come off steroids, they get really depressed. They get super emotional. Some guys even feel straight up suicidal. So, you know, listen to some of these guys who have been on steroids and talk about their experiences while on and while off and the side effects. Mark Bell, I believe, has gone into this kind of stuff and talked about the downsides, the dark side of steroid use. There's a lot of channels for this kind of thing out there. Listen to these guys, you know, before you embark on something like that, listen to it. It's not good. Now, if you need it for medical reasons, you're going to be taking a lower dose. You'll be taking a medical dose under doctor supervision for a specific medical end. I'm not saying that won't help your muscle building, because it can. That's been shown that even TRT can help muscle building. But you're being supervised. It's being done right. You know, you're getting good shit from a pharmacy. You're not getting stuff that's been mixed in the black market. And who knows the conditions of what you're injecting into your body, for fuck's sakes. You know, what kind of, toxins, or that's not really the word, contaminants is the word I wanted to use, that you might be putting in your body with, that you're injecting right into your body. You know, be careful with that, man. Is eating 3 bananas a day unhealthy? Nope, I don't see any reason for that. People are worried about the potassium content in bananas, but I think that I read somewhere that you'd have to eat some absurd, obscene number of bananas that's frankly impossible in one sitting to actually reach an overdose of potassium from bananas. What was that number? I can't remember the number anymore. It was like 200 or something. Don't quote me on that, but it was something really obscene. I wouldn't worry about it. And 3 bananas, sure, I've done well more than that. I've had like 7, 8, 9 bananas in a day's time over the course of a day, not in one sitting. Let's see here. Some people are talking about the drugs that they're using. What do you think about vegans supplementing with non-essential amino acids like taurine, carnosine, carnitine? Waste of money. In the case of carnitine, there is research to show that vegans have a lower level of carnitine in their bodies at any given time than non-vegans, because it is found in high amounts in meat. Now, generally speaking, this doesn't mean you're deficient in carnitine, so to speak. But if you are low level in carnitine or even deficient, it might hinder your fat loss. There is some research to show that in deficiency situations or low level situations, by supplementing carnitine, it improves fat loss. But once you get your carnitine levels back up to a healthy, normal range, you're not going to get any more benefits from it. It's not going to work miracles. There is also some evidence to show that carnitine can help dispose of glucose. So if you are on a keto diet and you do a refeed, using carnitine might help you dispose of the excess glucose and glycogen from the refeed that you stored up. Sorry, I got a bubble in my throat. Let's see here. What about taurine? All of these you're going to get from diet in some capacity. In fact, there are vegan versions of these supplements that are isolated from vegan foods, obviously. And taurine is no exception. There are vegan forms of taurine. But again, you're not going to be deficient if you're eating a balanced diet, you know, if you're getting enough protein. And some of these your body can produce from other amino acids you take in. I told a big vegan YouTuber that he is a hypocrite for saying that people torture animals for sexual reasons are assholes. Can I be saluted? He replied. Well, what did he reply? I mean, and who the fuck is torturing animals for sexual reasons? That is fucked up. I mean, torturing animals is bad to begin with, but for sexual reasons, that puts a whole new spin on it. That's even, oh my God, it's nasty. The things people do. Who are you running around with, man? Who are you watching on YouTube? Somebody says, Corey, there's a Chinese spear on Craigslist. Do I get it and learn the art of the spear? hey, there are fighting arts for stabs and spears, so that's your thing. Who's my favorite fitness YouTuber? I don't really watch a lot of fitness YouTube of late. I watch Vegan Gains. I catch up on him a lot when I have some time. I always sit down and try to catch up on him. But I used to watch Jerry Ward. I used to watch Mark Lobliner. I used to watch Jason Blaha. I would watch Rich Piana for some laughs. But I haven't watched these guys in a long time. I mean, months and months. It's been a long time since I've watched these guys. So I don't really watch a lot of fitness YouTubers, to be honest. What's my current lifting routine? I'm currently doing upper body, lower body. In the beginning of the week, I do upper body, really heavy focus, lower body, heavy focus. And later in the week, I do a lighter focus, more of a, you know, up to like from 8 to, actually more like 9 to 15 reps, and sometimes up as high as 50 reps on a given set. Usually when I go up to 50, 25 to 50, I'm doing drop sets. But on the heavier days, I get anywhere from 4 to 8 reps. So that's how I'm currently setting it up. I like to change it up every now and then. And so I'm currently doing a form of nonlinear periodization. Should you change routines every 6 to 12 weeks? I find it works for me. You know, periodization is a thing. So at least changing your rep scheme a bit, or the order of your rep scheme, is actually a thing. Nonlinear periodization has been shown to be the best form of periodization. That, for instance, could be 2 weeks of like 8 to 12 reps for a given body part, followed by a couple weeks of like, I don't know, 13 to 15 reps for a given body part, followed by a couple like another couple weeks of like 4 to 6 reps for a given body part. You know, and that's an example of periodizing right there, and changing your routine up. But I don't know if there's any other evidence really to show, to be honest, that changing up your exercise, like muscle confusion, this kind of thing, confusing the muscle. I don't think there's anything else to show that that's even really any more than bro science. Weider pushed bro science. Pectus excavatum means that your chest is pushed inwards. I'm a med student. If I were you, see a doctor and make sure you don't have a heart or bone cartilage. Yeah, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. I'm not a doctor. I don't want to give you bad advice. My advice is not meant to replace medical advice. What is your opinion on the YouTube enhanced athlete? You mean like YouTubers that are on drugs? I don't care what people do with their bodies, really, to be honest. It's their bodies. But if they're doing this to sell you a program or to sell you a product, and they're saying that they use this product or this given program to obtain this body, when in fact that was obtained through drug use, that's a lie, and it's pulling the wool over people's eyes. And there are people who believe this. There's young people, and even people who aren't young, who are just new to the fitness industry, believe this and spend hundreds upon hundreds of dollars on these products that are way overpriced, that don't do absolutely fuck all or very little. And they're not going to look like, you know, these guys because they're using that product. Like, I still remember one time when I first got involved in bodybuilding years and years ago, there was an ad with Kai Green in it. He was kind of a newer guy at the time, and he'd just been signed to a couple, I think he was signed to Muscle Med at this point in time. He was kind of a newer guy out there. I just got signed on. And it was one of their protein products, or was it Hexogen or something else, some other product of theirs, where he basically said that, you know, he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, in some way, shape, or form, that this product got me ripped, that I would not be able to get on Mr. Olympia stage without this product. That's bullshit. You know, his peptides, his other drugs, like his GH, that is what helps him look the way he does. Now, I'm not saying that the diet, including the protein powder used to meet protein needs and everything else, isn't important for his body to be able to build muscle, but to get that uber lean and keep his test levels high and get that big, he's taking drugs, man. No amount of over-the-counter supplements are going to make you look like Kai Green. So he's blatantly, in that ad, was blatantly lying to his fans. You know, that's my opinion on that. In my opinion, what's the best form of vegan activism? I think that hands down is the best form of vegan activism. I think that attacking people doesn't really do a whole lot. And I know I've done some videos where I've been kind of in your face with guys like Kinabody and whatnot. And it does piss people off. It doesn't reach them. It actually enhances their cognitive dissonance. But I find that calmly educating people goes a lot further in getting a message across, and then living the lifestyle in such a way where you make an impression. Like if you're a bodybuilder, a vegan bodybuilder, you're making an impression. You know, being somebody who's a great mind, you're showing that veganism doesn't deteriorate your brain. You know, a good athlete, maybe you're an endurance athlete. Showing what you can do on a vegan diet. That also, living by example is another great way for activism, for vegan activism. What's your opinion on Richard calling out H3 Productions to go vegan? He responded positively. I don't know who H3 is. I'm not familiar with a lot of YouTubers. Do I do IF on a keto diet? I do, yes. I still intermittent fast. IF in and of itself is just a fasting and feeding protocol. It's not a diet per se. There's no specifics to IF as a diet. It's just a feeding window. You know, your calorie and macro setup is your diet. You know, IF is really just that you're choosing to fast for so many hours before you begin to eat. And you can do that keto, you can do that non-keto, you can do that high carb, low fat if you wanted to. So IF is just really just a protocol. Somebody says that peccat excavatum is an abdominal development of the rib cage where the breastbones cave in, resulting in a sunken chest. Other words called like funnel chest. Yeah, I'm not a doctor. I ain't touching that. What is your opinion on boxing as a good martial art for self-defense? I think boxing is a great fighting style. It's only lacking in that there's no kicking, but you know, that's why I think like maybe Muay Thai or something, or full contact karate would be great options there. But it's definitely, I have a lot of respect for boxers. It can teach you how to punch. You can defend yourself well as a boxer, but you do want to learn some kicking, perhaps. You definitely want to learn some grappling. People are saying, wake up, sheeple, boxing kicks ass. Boxing does kick ass. Is it better to bring more weapons to a fight? I mean, I don't go out every day thinking I'm going to get in a fight. You know, this is why knowing a martial art's a great thing, because you know, weapon. In fact, I don't, you know, I guess you could argue that my belt, my keys, things like that could be used as a weapon. And there are things in your environment that can be used as a weapon. But I'm not going to walk around carrying a knife, and you can't conceal carry guns in the city without a permit. And I don't go out of the house thinking, oh, well, today I'm going to go out and get in a few fights. Like, that's not how I think. That would get me in jail, you know. So you can't prepare for that kind of thing other than knowing how to defend yourself, you know. So if something happens, you can react in a way that is going to be able to provide you a solution, safety. Since you recommend things like taurine or carnitine, since vegans seem to be lower levels of those, which might be low optimal. If you are deficient, sure. Or if you're a trainer and low levels of carnitine, for instance, are hindering your fat loss, give it a go. But by and large, if you're just an average person who wants to be healthy and you're getting enough protein in your diet, you should otherwise be fine. But you can always get blood work to tell what you're deficient in or not. Creatine has been shown to actually improve cognitive abilities in vegans and vegetarians. That's why I think that creatine should be treated like a vitamin amongst vegans and vegetarians. You know, you don't have to go overboard with it. Just 2.5 grams a day would be fine. Thoughts on Jeet Kune Do? Is it a legit martial arts style? Yeah, it is. I mean, it was developed by Bruce Lee. Now, keep in mind, Jeet Kune Do is essentially like a mixed martial art. He brought a bunch of ideas and styles together, like boxing and kung fu. But it's also geared more towards dirty self-defense, like gouging the eyes and you know, biting, I think, is even allowed in Jeet Kune Do. There basically nothing is off limits really, because street fights are dirty. So there you go. There are enough videos of Thais fucking up boxers with low kicks. Well, yeah, but I mean that's in Kyokushin karate too. Hammering in someone's leg over and over again with like leg kicks. If the person can't walk and can't stand, they can't fight. So yeah, I mean that's definitely a useful technique, and you'll see that against full contact karate fighters and against Thai kickboxers. They tack the legs a lot, the inner and outer legs a lot. And if you ever fought somebody who just beats your leg in over and over again, if you ever felt that, you might, it feels like the worst leg day that you've ever had. And the pain lasts throughout sometimes 7 days. It still hurts like a week later. And you can end up with some pretty severe bruises that way too. Leg kicks are no fucking joke. And Thai boxers and karate fighters are very adept at just hammering people's legs. What do you think of the new meta-analysis claiming that milk is healthy? I'd have to have a look at it. Feel free to link me in the comments later when the comment section appears. Let's see here. Kicks are risky because you can get caught off balance. This is true. High kicks more so than low kicks. Low kicks require less commitment to the attack. You know, and they're kind of under the radar a little bit unless someone's watching for the low kicks. But yeah, I mean, like throwing a kick in a fight, if it's not well timed and well planned, can be pretty disastrous because you can be taken to the ground, especially against somebody who's good at grappling. They'll see that kick coming and they will take you to the ground. So keep that in mind. Cory, what are your thoughts on the vegan Dr. Garth Davis? Do you like his book, Proteinaholic? I debated Garth, I almost called him Darth Davis. I debated Garth Davis one time about protein. He was making an overgeneralization that everyone is overeating protein and that everyone only needs this RDA, like I think it was an RDA level of protein. I debated him that there's research and it does exist. There's actually tons of research on athletes, specific sports, even from endurance up to strength sports, showing that they require more protein intake. And I debated him on this, and I think he conceded the point, as I recall, that he's talking more generally speaking for your average person. So yeah, I mean, your average person doesn't need more than the RDA of protein per day. There's no reason for the average person to be eating, you know, strength athlete amounts of protein per day. There's no reason for that. There's no reason for an endurance athlete to be eating absurd strength athlete amounts of protein per day. Eat for your goals and eat for your output. Knees and elbows are good, but I think it's best to master just a few moves. Knees and elbows are great, and your elbows are some of the strongest points of the body to strike with. The elbows are an incredible weapon on your body, incredible weapon, and they're short range too, so you can nab somebody with an elbow uppercut, like right up against their face, like right next to their face when they're pretty close to you. Cory, what's your training routine like? Currently, it's a upper-lower type split, as I was explaining. But I start off the earlier part of the week with heavier days, and the later part of the week with a moderate to lighter training. What I mean by that is rep ranges. So I might be doing like 8 to 15 reps plus drop sets later in the week, and earlier in the week I'm doing anywhere from like 4 up to 8 reps. What's your advice for getting a healthy thyroid function as a vegan? Well, really, it shouldn't affect your thyroid unless you have an existing condition. And if you do, you need to see a doctor and get medication for that. I don't know how veganism, I've not seen any evidence to show veganism slowing thyroid function. Now, granted, I know that there are goitrogens in broccoli and tofu. but they in soy, but they can be cooked out. In fact, I think with just like, if you do oven cooking, I think like 20 minutes can cook out like 89%, but stovetop is even hotter, so it can cook out faster. So really, this is why I suggest you cook some foods and eat some foods raw, a mixed diet. Cory, if you could participate in one Olympic event, what would it be? Now, I'm not great at either one of these, but either Olympic lifting or gymnastics. Some of those gymnastics things, like the pull-ups they do and the muscle-ups and you know, they do with the rings, are just awesome. They're really great feats of strength. And gymnasts have incredible development in their upper bodies, incredible development. Why does lifting weights reduce cancer? If you do sports like running, isn't the same for health purposes? No, it's not actually. And I'll be doing a video on this. There is a specific gene that is turned on when you lift weights. And it actually is a cancer-fighting gene and longevity-promoting gene. I'll be doing a video about this. But I'm still gathering all the research I need for it and putting it together. I have so many videos to do. Like somebody else earlier who was asking about my dating and like rules of attraction type video. I'm not a reptilian, Master Ray. I don't, you know, this is funny. What have you been watching, David Icke? Let's see what else. Cory, the power lifter Louis Simmons has been on steroids since he was in his 20s, and I believe he still uses them. He recently squatted 900+ pounds as an over 70. Do you think he's still healthy? Well, if he's over the age of 70 and he's still performing strength feats and his joints are keeping up, I think he's fine. But if he comes off steroids suddenly now, at this point in time, he's going to need TRT for all the years he's been on gear. People are kind of just talking amongst themselves at this point. See if there's any questions I've missed here. Thoughts on getting enough omega-3s? Your opinion on ALA enough, or do you supplement with DHEA? I do supplement with DHEA now. For a while, I was thinking I would let the genetic mutation take effect and just use ALA. But then I read Dr. Greger's book, and I'm convinced that you should be supplementing DHA. So I take an algae-based DHA supplement each day, 600 milligrams of DHA. You don't need a lot there. And I get ALAs from flax seeds. Cory, do you think jiu-jitsu is the most complete martial art? No. I think that jiu-jitsu is great for learning groundwork and learning grappling and dealing with fighting on the ground. But I think that jiu-jitsu fighters should still seek out a striking style. Because and I've discussed this in a martial arts video before, not to rag on jiu-jitsu, but it's not exactly conducive to multiple attack scenarios. And one thing I can say about street fights is you don't want to be on the ground unless you have to be. And even then you want to get the fuck off the ground as quickly as possible. And that means staying on your feet and striking being a lot more optimal in a street fight, especially in a multiple attack scenario. Because if you're on the ground grappling someone and you have someone locked up on the ground and their buddies jump in with like bat, broken bottle, whatever, or just they start kicking and punching you, and you don't even know they're there necessarily. They come out of left field because you got the upper hand and they're jumping in for their friend. It's not a good place to be on the ground. You know, it's not a good place to be. Now, jiu-jitsu is a great martial art, and it's very valid to learn. I think it's vital to learn. But you should learn striking as well. And you should never rely on being on the ground in a street fight. I would not rely on that because you don't know who else is around. Let's see. Trying to see what other questions have come in. Somebody's saying something about dropping protein levels. I'm trying to get the context here. Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to get more. What martial arts do I practice? Karate and Taijutsu are the two that I tried. Now, I did, and I've been doing that since I was 8 years old. But I did try Muay Thai for a while because I wanted to do full contact fighting. And I just found that having to unlearn the chambering that I learned in karate was just seemed annoying for me. So what I did instead was I went into Kyokushin, which is the full contact form of karate. Then I didn't have to unlearn anything. I could just, you know, leave Okinawan karate, which is what I've been training in, and switch over to Kyokushin. And that was an easy enough transition. Somebody says that I know my shit. Thank you. I try to be reasonable and informative, so I try to be. Let's see here. Is it possible to eat too much food so it could damage your digestive system? I mean, if you eat too much food, you can get fat. I mean, if you overeat your calories. But as for damaging your digestive system, if your digestive system is in disrepair, perhaps you need to look into probiotics or see a doctor. I mean, you should be able to handle occasionally large quantities of food. Set. It also depends on the kinds of food you're eating. If you're eating really bad foods like processed crap and cakes and cookies, and you're going to have a lot of gastric upset, I'm sure. Or if you have allergies to certain foods, like, you know, that could give you like someone who's allergic to soy, for instance, might get gastric upset from eating soy products. Or gluten, another good example. I get gastric upset from gluten. But otherwise, if you're otherwise healthy, it shouldn't be a problem. Your digestion and eating large quantities of food. Some people are just going off about whatever. Somebody's asking if I'm homosexual. No, I'm not homosexual. I'm actually engaged to a woman who is a YouTuber as well. Yep, competitive eaters are a good example of people who eat a shitload of food and don't have a problem with it. Now, I mean, some of these folks, I mean, they're probably, I mean, I've seen some competitive eaters who are very, very overweight. And some that seem to maintain their weight fairly well, like oh, what's that fucking guy's name? Vegan Gains called him out a lot. I can't think of his damn name right now. It's really bad. Pete, Furious Pete. I was going to call him Curious Pete. Furious Pete is one of those guys. He gets puffy, but he doesn't get like obese. But he does train a lot, and he might be using steroids. Who knows? Yeah, probiotics don't necessarily don't repair your gut flora. They can maintain it though. But that's one of the things. If you're in otherwise good health, it can be, if you're eating a large quantity of food, might be helpful to use probiotics or digestive enzymes as well. But if you are truly medically fucked up, you need to see a doctor. Cory, please watch Vegan Gains' newest video. I will. And thanks, Average Joe, on my engagement. Actually, it's, you know, we've been engaged since like July. We're actually officially engaged like back in like February. So it's been a while. Matt Stoney, the dude is slim and he eats a lot. I'll have to check that out. Questions are kind of slowing down at this point. But it's ALA, so your body needs to convert it. Yeah, that's true. ALA does require a conversion process in your body, which is why I believe Dr. Gregory is suggesting to take in at least the minimum of DHA per day directly from like algae, for instance, and then get your ALA needs met through like flax seeds would be great. Cory, is it possible to enlarge the width of the upper body? I don't know the extent of how much you can build the inverted triangle shape of the body. Here's the thing about that, okay? If you train your delts, if you train your back especially, if you do deep lat stretches, pullovers can help. These are all things that can build to the illusion of a wider upper body. Now, unfortunately, if you naturally have a wide waist, Arnold is a good example of this. He, no matter what he did, even with steroids, and even with building a massive back and wide, broad shoulders, he still had the twist when he posed on stage to hide the flaw. of a wider waist. So there's only really so much you can do. You can build your back up, and that involves like doing things like pull-ups and pull downs, close grip pull downs, and all of that. And of course, rear delt work and deltoid flies and overhead pressing and all of this. But there's only going to be so much that you can develop the width of your body naturally for your genetics, for your insertion points. And depending on the width of your waist, only so much you can really do about how that illusion takes effect with the size of your waist. You know, do the best with what you got, and work with what you got, and make it the best you possibly can. That's all I can advise with that. What is the best fat percentage for females, as well as what's the best for males? That's a very difficult question, because it depends on your goal. I mean, if you're looking for general health but to look good at the same time, I would say for females 18 to 22%. For guys 10 to 15%. Maybe even more so 10 to 12%. Then your hormones will be in check, and you'll look good. You know, you'll look very athletic and even have abdominal definition. That's my take on that. I know that women begin to lose their periods below 18% body fat, at least many do. And men below 8% body fat begin to drop their testosterone significantly. What equipment would you say would be essential for a home gym? I would say, like, depending on space, for me, I'd say the bare bones. This is what I have here. I have a pair of adjustable dumbbells that go up to 100 pounds per arm. I have an adjustable bench that can do flat and incline. I have a pull-up bar that has that can do chins, neutral grip pull-ups, and overhand pull-ups. I have resistance bands that I can attach and anchor to a door or something and get constant tension work in. I also have a kettlebell. And I can get a great home workout with just those things. In fact, at the Vegan Muscle Academy, I actually have a home routine based entirely around these bare bone things that will cost you no more than like $350 to buy. And that'll get you, you can even build a great body with all of that. Is training heavy over 1 hour and 30 minutes straight bad? Depends on how do you feel. I mean, I frankly begin to feel kind of shit after about 90 minutes myself. I limit my workouts to like 90 minutes. If, you know, that's the max. That's my max there. And usually that's on leg day. It also depends on how crowded the gym is too. That can happen other days too if I'm waiting for a while to get a station. But yeah, it really depends. How do you feel? If you feel like you're burning out, if you feel tired, if you feel your CNS crashing, yeah, it's too much for you, man. What are some foods that promote, vegan foods that promote skin health and clarity? Foods with high vitamin C intake. So many different vegetables, many different fruits would be great for that. Basically, staying away from processed sugars can be bad for, that can be bad for your skin and your hormones as well. But yeah, fruits and vegetables are excellent for your skin because of the high amount of vitamin C, which is collagen promoting. My computer's not dead, Hammering Hank. It's still working. Can you see me? Let's see here. I have GERD, and occasionally lifting heavy or kettlebell routines kick up stomach acid when and begins to become painful to continue. Do you have any tips or ideas to get around this? I don't really. I'm not a doctor, and that sounds pretty serious, kicking up stomach acid. I would talk to your doctor about that. Do you notice perhaps specific movements, specific exercises that cause that? Maybe avoid those and find an alternative. Best flavorings for cooking tofu. I personally find that like salt and pepper are great. I like salting my tofu and cooking in coconut oil. Let's see. It's been a long day, guys. I'm probably going to wrap up shortly. My computer's dying anyway, and I'm getting a little bit tired. I've been so busy today. That's why I started so late. Do you think people should cut off friends and family that eat flesh and titty juice and periods? In other words, people who aren't vegan. No, I don't think that's what you should be doing. I think you should be leading by example. I think that if you lead by a positive example, and I say this from experience, they will ask you questions and they will want to hear your take and your experiences and your approach, hear about your approach. And then it will be solicited advice at that point in time too. You'll have far more ears by leading by example than you will by being a dick, essentially. You're actually going to turn people away in that. That's something I've noticed. Now, there's some people that react well to that. There's some people that just seem to like to be yelled at. You know, they like somebody harassing them. That registers with them for one reason or another. What that says about their psychology, I'm not a psychologist, but that registers with them and resonates with them. But I think a lot of people just act defensive when you get like that. So leading by example is a far better, and then educating is a far better mode of pushing that vegan message out there. How to avoid diarrhea when having lots of greens, e.g. spinach or kale. I never had that problem. I don't know. Are you eating spinach or kale that's like contaminated perhaps? There can be E. coli and things like that, salmonella and whatnot. I've read about that as well. Be sure you're cooking it well, you wash it well, because that is not something I've experienced. Do you think I should still go to the gym after getting equipment? That is up to you, Manus. I have equipment, but I use it for emergencies. Like if I can't leave the house for one reason or another, or it's a holiday or a snowstorm or a hurricane, and I'm stuck inside. When Hurricane Sandy happened, my gym was closed for a week. Most of the city was shut down, and power was out for half of it. At least I had power on. And having a home gym equipment is excellent in a scenario like that. But otherwise, I like the energy of training in a gym. So really, it comes down to, would you prefer to train at home? And if that equipment's enough for you, then great, go for it. But if you feel like you get a better experience out of training in a gym, go for that instead. You know, but have the option there as a fallback. Let's see here. Okay, my computer is about to crap out. It's giving me that dark screen again. And I'm feeling exhausted. I've had a very long day. So I will catch you guys next week for another Q&A. We've been going for about an hour, a little over an hour at this point. And I'll catch you all next week. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to donate to my Patreon, it's down below. You know, all of you, if you want to even donate $1 a month to my Patreon to support what I do in this channel, don't forget to check out the Vegan Muscle Academy. I do have plenty of room for more clients. It's virtual coaching with me, all based on science. I give all of my references. Everything is always listed and provided. And there's also a protein shake PDF, protein shake recipes below in the description as well. It's a free download. Feel free to check that out. And you can see what kind of protein shakes I actually use, the varieties that I've used. So with that all said, I'll see you guys around next week. Take care.